Good morning, and thank you for joining us for SBB University. I am excited today to bring on a dynamic panel of experts that are joining us to talk about smart money, ways that you can pre-plan and pay for long-term care. So first person I'd like to introduce is Andrea Seratzki. She is over at Gulf Coast Village, also representing a CCRC without walls called Senior Choice at Home. Can't wait to dive into that and have Andrea tell you all about that wonderful product. We also have Mr. David Adele here representing Reverse Mortgages. David is with Omaha Mutual of Omaha. We have attorney Joanne Jeffries, who is here. She owns her own practice. And then Miss Reina Schlager. She is a CPA and financial advisor with a wealth of knowledge to share with everyone that is watching this panel today. We join you. So thank you so much for being here. My name is Amanda Barton. I'm the publisher of Seniors Blue Book, and I will be your moderator for this morning's panel. So I just want each of you to take a moment, talk a little about yourself, and then we're going to dive into some icebreaker questions. These are the questions that I feel you and the audience need to know. If you have additional questions, we encourage you to put those in the chat box and we will get answers to you as soon as humanly possible. So Andrea, I'll start with you. Why don't you tell us just a quick snippet about yourself and how long you've been doing what you do?
Well, thank you so much, Amanda. So happy to be here today. I'm Andrea Seratzki. I am the Area Director, Sales of Marketing for Volunteers of America. I've been in senior living my entire career. So I hate to admit it, but about 35 plus years. So I'm thrilled to be here in Southwest Florida and a part of such a wonderful organization. Thank you for having me on the panel.
And when people joke around and say that they started in high school, Andrea actually means it.
I did, right? Exactly.
All right. David, welcome. How are you this morning? Tell us a little bit about, I know you've been doing this a long time. I think you've written over 300 reverse mortgages, if I'm correct.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've been doing reverse mortgages originating since 2006. And for a number of those years were with Bank of America, some of the big banks, and now with Mutual of Omaha, which has been tremendous working with them. 111-year-old company, tremendous reputation. Everybody knows them. So all is going very well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join us this morning for this presentation. All right, Miss Joanne Jeffries, tell us a little bit about how long you've been practicing law. I know that you are dual licensed here,
Yeah.
and is it New Jersey or New York?
New Jersey. Yep. New Jersey and New York.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, and DC. So yes, so I have been practicing same thing about 30 years, believe it or not. I started early also, and concentrating in elder law and estate planning. So my practice has been devoted all these years to kind of helping seniors as they age, what we're talking about today, aging in place and planning for end of life care and long-term care. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me today, Amanda.
Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, Miss Reina Schlager with Schlager, and Levin. And Reina has a wide variety of expertise. All of the different acronyms behind her name will prove that, right, Reina?
So I've been partnering with my clients again for 35 years. Average age of this group is like tonnage. And believe it or not, the National Task Force for CPAs for long-term care and raising awareness of all the issues for elder citizens was 35 years ago a long-term care task force. So CPAs have always been trying to get that core person you got to see every year to do your taxes involved in making sure you know what you need to know, because there isn't someone calling you and saying, oh, now that you're this age, you have to do this. And the goal is to enjoy your retirement and age as best you can, as comfortably as you can.
Yeah, and definitely. So I think we're going to kick off today's program with your intro, and then we will kind of roll through the different panelists. And again, to our audience out there, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll get back to you right away. So Reina, you want to kick it off with your intro?
Yes, very quickly, people are afraid to call a financial planner. They think, I don't have enough money. Is this somebody going to just, deal with the dollars? If you have the right independent financial planner who's comprehensive, they're going to know about David's reverse mortgages. They're going to know about residential options like Gulf Coast Village, and they're going to partner with your attorney. So it's a team to support you. So with that, I think if everybody would, share their expertise and knowledge, and then I'll pick up at the end because that comprehensive base will do it.
Yes, absolutely. Reina's the one-stop shop, but we all work together to marry our services, because it's important also that we all are able to communicate with each other to best serve our clients. So pre-planning is absolutely one of the most important things that I think you can do. And there are a few documents that are essential for you to have in place. Joanne, I know there are a multitude of documents that that folks need to have in place, but what would you say is the single most important document that folks start out with, no matter what their age?
Okay, so I would really say having, first of all, just to back up, I agree with Reina that you really have to plan early to have a successful aging in place and retirement. So early planning is definitely best. And I think number one, what people have to do is think about having a good, durable power of attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say even before having a will in place, a good, durable power of attorney is an essential document. And let me explain what that is. A durable power of attorney is a document where you can appoint another person to act on your behalf in the event you become incapacitated. They are able to do all your financial paperwork for you, make decisions on your behalf. If a person doesn't have that document in place, they will have to go to court and have a guardian will have to be appointed for them, which is extremely costly and a much longer process. But a power of attorney is a cost-effective document that will be able to provide. I get a lot of people that come in when they say my spouse, my parent suffered a catastrophic illness during the hospital. We need power of attorney for them. And that's when it's too late. They may have cognitive issues. They may not be able to sign a legal document at that point. And then you're pretty much forced to go to court. So definitely a durable power of attorney. And then for healthcare, definitely an advance directive or living will, where similarly to the power of attorney, you appoint a person to make medical decisions on your behalf. And you also set forth your wishes for long-term care. So do you want to have life-sustaining treatment given to you? Those are two essential documents that people should definitely have, because they're essential to plan. As we'll talk about later with regard to long-term care insurance, getting into a CCRC, doing a reverse mortgage. If you don't have the legal authority to understand those documents, you can't sign them. So somebody's going to have to do it for you. So you need those documents in place.
And nobody really knows when this catastrophic event is going to happen. So it's best to put these documents in place while you're young and independent. I've already gotten my documents done. I'm so fortunate to be a part of these panel discussions where I understand the importance of it, especially because I don't have children. So I need to make sure that there are people set in place, to take care of those things for me.
Exactly. Yeah, well, just with this COVID, I've had people that were in assisted living facilities and they can't get out to do anything. They're quarantined, or people in quarantine. You would need, if you have anything essential to do, you would need your agent, the person under the power of attorney, to do something for you. So especially in times like these when we could be home stuck at home for 2 weeks or whatever it is, that we have an agent in place.
Yes,
Sorry.
sure. Now we touched on this a little bit. You know, a part of today's topic is ways to pay for care. As an elder law attorney, we definitely want to talk about the folks that may need Medicaid. What are some of the things that we can do in the pre-planning stages of early retirement to ensure that either we qualify for that or you know, what other things do you suggest we do to get ready? Because there is that look back period.
Okay, well, first thing I would suggest or keep in mind is everybody's situation is different and your assets are held different ways. People have different assets. So the best thing is not to listen to your neighbor, person sitting around the pool to tell you, oh, transfer your property to your children, get this out of your name, do this. The best thing to do is to get competent legal advice and talk to an attorney, an elder law attorney, to assess your situation and see where you are. The cost of long-term care, as we know, could be $5,000 to $7,000 a month in an assisted living facility or more. And a skilled nursing care is even more, and home care is even more. So you really have to look at your estate as a whole to really see what your options are. Do you have assets that you can use to support you for long-term care? Do you have a long-term care insurance policy that you didn't look at in 20 years, so you don't even know what it says? What is your estate worth? And your estate's different than your neighbor's. So you may have different assets, and whatever state you're in is different. You know, people from Ohio or Pennsylvania or New Jersey, New York, the law is different there than in Florida. So what may apply in one of those states is different here. So you may have different options. So really the best thing to do is to get some legal advice, get those documents that we talked about in place, and then kind of come up with a plan and explore all your different options for paying for the cost of care, because most people, as you said, can't pay for a long period of time because it is so expensive. So what are we going to look at to fund that cost of the care? Is it governmental benefits,
Right,
like Medicaid? Is it using the equity in your house? Is it enacting or putting into pay status a long-term care insurance policy you have? You know, are you in the right setup to age in place? Do you need to go into a different housing situation?
Right.
And that's what the real difference is just between straight estate planning and elder law planning. It's kind of looking at all those different factors as we age.
Yeah,
So,
and just like the look back period that would have you qualify for, say, aid attendance or Medicaid, we also have a stringent financial and a healthcare assessment before you can enter into a continuing care retirement community. And Andrea is going to cover what exactly a continuing care retirement community is and why it is specifically designed for the pre-planner. And we use a lot of acronyms in this industry. So Andrea, I'm sure that a lot of the viewers out there have heard the acronym CCRC. Why don't you tell us what CCRC stands for?
All righty. Well, thank you. I sure will. Continuing care retirement community is what a CCRC is. And what that means is that you have the full continuum. You have independent living, assisted living, memory support, as well as skilled nursing. So some communities say they have a continuum of care. If there is no skilled nursing component with that particular entity, then it is not a continuing care retirement community. So there are a variety of different options out there, and continuing care retirement communities entrance fees are truly an asset in your portfolio, so to speak, when you do make that type of a decision. Entrance fee communities actually ask for an upfront entrance fee, and then you pay a monthly service fee. But in exchange for that, depending on your contract options and what is out there, you receive something called life care. So should anything happen financially or physically to you, you have that care in place regardless of your ability to pay your monthly fees. Whereas in a rental type of setting, that's not necessarily the case. if you can't pay every month, you can't stay every month. So that is a huge asset, so to speak. It's not just, especially during COVID, that peace of mind that it provides to not only you, but your spouse and to your family, to know that you have a plan in place. And I think that's this whole panel today is going to talk about not just getting a plan in place, what is your plan, but have you communicated it to your family members, or I say your posse behind you, your durable power of attorney, your healthcare surrogate? Does everyone know what it is that you want? And then taking a look at all of those options, what's going to fit best in your budget, what's going to fit best in your lifestyle. One thing that Volunteers of America does offer is not just a CCRC with walls, like Gulf Coast Village, but also a CCRC without walls called Senior Choice at Home, where you don't even need to pack up and leave and move to a community. You can receive all of those same exact type of benefits inside your home. It wraps around you and protects you.
Right, and there's several different ways to pay for these services, whether it be long-term care insurance policy, which we're going to bounce to Reina to talk about that, but also a reverse mortgage. So David, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then we're going to do a couple more rounds of questions for everyone. I've got a lot for us to cover today, but David, you know, long-term care is just one of the very many things that you can use a reverse mortgage to pay for. But for those people out there that are unfamiliar with reverse mortgages, or they have a bad taste in their mouth because of a stigma that is many years debunked now, talk to us about what a reverse mortgage is. And how it can benefit you, either being able to stay in your home and pay for a service like Senior Choice at Home, or to pay for in-home care, to pay for remodels or downsizing. Give us the skinny on what's going on with reverse mortgages.
Right, great. Thanks for the question, Amanda. Home equity is an illusion that exists only on paper unless it's separated from the home. So it has no tangible benefit. So with the reverse mortgage, we're converting a portion of that equity into the tangible benefit of tax-free cash. So the money can be used for there's no restrictions on how it can be used. So it's commonly used to pay for long-term care or in-home care. And since there's never a mortgage payment due with a reverse mortgage, it brings a tremendous, peace of mind and relieves the financial stress of these homeowners that want to age in place or get these things set up and pay for long-term care or in-home care.
No, definitely. And talk a little bit about how the process has changed. Because I think a lot of people got in trouble with reverse mortgages because they were used to paying a mortgage, and in their mortgage, they had their homeowner's insurance, they had their taxes, it was all looped in. They do this reverse mortgage and didn't get proper education. They didn't pay those bills, and they ended up losing their homes. So a lot has changed with your counseling and all the things that you have to understand before you can enter a reverse mortgage. Talk to us about some of those new things that have been instituted.
Yeah, the FHA has been bringing in over the last number of years a number of changes to protect the homeowner. The independent counseling from a third-party HUD certified counseling agency is required. And the understanding is made very clear, just like if you own a property, it's like with a forward mortgage, you're still responsible for taxes and insurance. I mean, it's possible to have it escrowed, but generally the homeowner is responsible for taxes and insurance. And if they don't pay that, it kind of the reverse mortgage kind of got a bad name for those people that didn't pay it. But if they don't pay those things, they're going to get foreclosed on anyway from the county, so.
You're absolutely right about that. They would have been kicked out of their homes if they didn't make those payments before they even had anything to do with the reverse mortgage. All right, just along the trail of us staying with ways to pay for care, Reina, I know that you do a lot with long-term care insurance. Do you want to talk to us about exactly what long-term care insurance is and what type of programs are out there, and maybe some that you recommend.
Sure. Well, long-term care has evolved, and there's a delay between reality and the news. So in the early years of long-term care, which is the late 80s, early 90s, insurance companies didn't know what they were selling, and they were giving away at very low premium costs incredibly rich benefits. And the news said these policies just won't pay. And they did. So now several years go by and the news starts saying, well, maybe long-term care is an insurance you should consider. And by then, the insurance companies woke up and started charging real premiums. And now you've got a pretty hefty premium to get the coverages. What I would say in general is if you have a long-term care policy, you probably, if you read it, don't understand it for what it's offering you. And the most important thing you should know about your policy is whether it's indemnity or expense. And that can impact how it would work in a place like Andrea's Gold Coast Village, which is the continuing care community. So if it's a straight rental, you get a rent bill. These policies pay rent, room and board, but in many of the CCRCs, you get a maintenance fee. So what the facilities, the CCRCs have done is they've come up with a variety of contracts so that there's still an ability for someone with a long-term care policy to merge it and complement it with the contract at a CCRC. It used to be in the old days, and still probably some communities out there, that they basically were marketing saying, if you come to the CCRC, you can stop paying your very, expensive long-term care. And now you have more flexibility to decide what you want to do. We help with that decision. There's no fee to do that. And I'd say going back to understanding the financial planner, there are many financial planners who are not charging fees. If you have a relationship with them where they may manage your investments or you have other product relationships, then you're basically becoming a financial partner. At least that's the way we work in our firm. Long-term care, if you've held it, in the last 3 years, there was 55, 65, and 95% increases on the major carrier contracts, so bad that the state of Florida turned around and said to the companies, we will grant those increases, but we're going to do it over 2 or 3 years. So when companies sent out information to say, this is a way you can lower your premium and deal with the increase, not one of the companies sent, in my opinion, the optimal option. You had to call the company and ask for different options and get another option sent to you. So again, financial planner, people who have long-term care policies, I did not sell them, but they have a place to go to help them with those decisions. Let me just touch base on the reverse mortgage, which I have many clients who've used it as a tool. Who fared the best in the downturn of real estate? In 2008, 9, and 10, where foreclosures were everywhere, if you did pay your tax bill and if you did pay your insurance, the person who was sitting pretty was the person with the reverse mortgage. Because if you have a traditional mortgage and your house is underwater and you can't pay those installments, you're going to be foreclosed. You are not foreclosed because there's no required payment on a reverse mortgage. When the CCRC was talking about long-term care insurance and analysis, many people actually make their appointments with us to say, can I afford to move into the CCRC? Or they're saying, how can I afford? And then we may use different features. One of the things that stops people from going to CCRC, they haven't sold their home. Well, we've identified certain banks in the area who will actually give you a home equity line of credit to come up with the down payment enrollment fee for the CCRC if you're in the process of selling your home. So there are a number of different creative things. And going to legal, I can't say enough for Joanne's comments about the durable power. I always, in any kind of workshop, ask the question, what do you think is the most important document? And no one says the durable power, and that's the most important document. But putting beneficiaries on your accounts is another very important thing. How many people have bank accounts, life insurance, and the beneficiaries are just not kept up to date? And even if you're a husband and wife, if you don't have that durable power document and you're joint on the house and one of you are incapacitated, how would you like to have to pay several $1,000s to become a guardian and then ask a court before you are allowed to do a transaction that's for your spouse? If it's your IRA, it's your own IRA. If you're incapacitated, your spouse needs a durable power document to avoid going to the courts. So to put it plainly, a piece of paper can avoid costing your family inconvenience and thousands of dollars. And
also that relationship that you have with your family can be completely demolished in a time of crisis. You just don't know how people react when you're trying to guess people's wishes. It can be quite messy. So I agree.
Yeah. There is an AICPA booklet on end-of-life planning, and it is freely available on the internet. And we can have Amanda disperse it and make it available to the public. And then you can download it, and it has all this information for you to review. But I can't say enough about partnering. Who is the most successful person? Is it the smartest person? Is it the richest person? It's usually the person who surrounds themselves with great advisors. So I say this is a great place to start with everybody.
I feel very blessed to do that. All right. Well, Joanne, I want to just ask a couple of questions because, we're talking about being smart with our money and being proactive. Talk to me about the different types of people that may or may not be good for a trust. What is a trust really used for? Is it necessary in all cases? Kind of give me an idea about that, because I think a lot of folks get confused when it comes to that.
Okay, so kind of what Reina said, taking off about having beneficiary designations. There's different types of assets. There's probate assets and there's non-probate assets. And probate assets are assets in an individual person's name that, in order to get them to your beneficiaries, have to go through the probate process. And non-probate assets, where you have a beneficiary designation or assets that pass by operation of law because they're jointly held, avoid probate. And people would rather avoid probate if they can help it, because probate is a longer process, more expensive, right? Exactly. Time and money spent on the probate process. So a lot of people look to living trusts, revocable living trusts, as a tool to consolidate their assets, have them all in the trust, and then have them distributed the way that they want. And the benefit to a living trust, as opposed to just a beneficiary designation, is if you have a beneficiary with special needs that need a further trust, that maybe can't manage assets, that have special needs or on governmental benefits, you could set forth that in your trust. And the living trust is basically a will substitute, and it's revocable. So you can change your mind. There's all different types of trusts, but a revocable living trust means money can go in, money can go out. You can change your mind, you can amend it. So trusts have different purposes. So it works very well for avoiding probate and consolidating assets, and then having a successor, like a power of attorney, a successor trustee in the event you become incapacitated and can't manage your trust. You would have a successor to do that. So very easy management as
And
well.
this may be a silly question, but doesn't it also protect your assets if you do need to qualify for Medicaid?
Well, not a revocable living trust,
Okay.
because how Medicaid looks at assets in a revocable living trust is as countable assets. So they would have to be put in a special Medicaid trust, an irrevocable trust, in order to protect them for Medicaid purposes. And so in thinking of Medicaid, if you have access to the money, then Medicaid has access to the money. So if you have them in an irrevocable trust where you don't have access to it, it's protected for Medicaid purposes. But again, even for Medicaid planning, there's a lot of different trusts. There's a lot of exceptions. If you have a child with disabilities, exceptions to that 5-year rule and the transfer of assets rule.
Right,
So,
right. And we're not suggesting that someone that has $1 million try to get qualified for Medicaid, but there are a lot of people out there, including some of my family members, that are on that brink, and there's no way that they would ever be able to afford a $15,000 skilled nursing bill each month. But maybe they could pay for a little bit of care. Those are
right.
the folks that may need that Medicaid planning that we're speaking of.
Exactly, because every situation is different and you may have different beneficiaries and your assets are held differently. So it's a great idea to explore this and explore the different ways. Medicaid, again, when I see people that have some catastrophic, the person's in the nursing home and they're afraid they're going to lose their home, it's good to get advice so you could see what is really going to happen
Yeah.
and what is just kind of talk around the swimming pool.
If I can piggyback that, if you have heard that people have lost their homes because of nursing home expenses, it means they did not see Joanne or me in advance.
Right.
There
Right.
are ways to protect yourself and definitely protect your homestead. So one of the things we do is something called an initial Medicaid review, and many times put the financial information you have, which may be an overwhelming step for the client, because they have so much other stuff going on.
Right.
And then they take that to Joanne, and then she starts seeing exactly what financials are there. And
Right.
I know about countable and non-countable assets, and also some, unusual ways to make countable uncountable, which Joanne, I'm sure, does also. And putting heads together gives you the best result.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And
Now,
sorry. I was just going to quickly say, and pre-planning, doing this when you're not in a crisis,
absolutely.
the best planning, when you have time to go see the advisors and talk to people, is really the best.
100% agree. The next question, Andrea, I know that typically when I ask this, it's deferred to a CPA, so Reina may jump in and have something to add, but talk to me about the tax benefits of living in a continuing care retirement community.
Well, there are some really great tax benefits. So the year in which you purchase in, whether it's our with walls or without walls program, either one, you're able to deduct the non-refundable portion of your contract, whichever contract you purchase in under. If you itemize, and it's considered a medical deduction, a prepaid medical deduction, as well as annually, every single year, that monthly service fee that you pay would be tax deductible. And again, that's applicable to either our with walls CCRC or our without walls. So there's some really great benefits to that, as well as to the other points, pre-planning ahead, you're pretty much insulating yourself against any future healthcare cost risks that will take that your portfolio would take a hit on.
Yeah, and elaborate on that. Talk to us about some of the services that are included with your monthly service fee, and what happens when you do need to transition into assisted living, memory support, or your skilled transitional care.
So absolutely, when you are able, what's included in the monthly service fee is 1 meal a day, transportation, housekeeping, all of the activities that go on here, which there's a whole plethora of options for you to choose from. Pretty much your taxes, your insurance, everything's included. You don't have to worry about any of that. The only thing that you would need to worry additionally about is your internet, your phone. That would be a separate expense. And then when you do need to transition to a higher level of care, essentially you receive a discount depending on the purchase plan or the entrance fee that you choose, the contract option, and you go through the different levels of care and receive that discount. All with the commitment. We do something called a contract review. We have seminars and webinars. We're very transparent. We go through the contract so you can see exactly where all of this is stated. That should you run through your resources, you're here for life. We actually had a seminar where one of our residents stood up and nobody knew. She was here for about 10 years and she had been paying for her husband's care and ran through her resources. And she said, I am one of those people that am here. And thank goodness I'm here because she planned ahead. So that's, I think the message today is that proactive planning ahead and getting the information now versus being reactive later when you're not as able to.
And another quick question, because I think it's important to discuss this. If you are doing the CCRC Without Walls program with Senior Choice at Home, and you get to a point where you're no longer able to stay home, what happens next?
So that's the true benefit of that particular option. The goal for Senior Choice at Home is that you want to remain in your home for the rest of your life. I've heard for years and years, people say, I'm not ready yet to move to a community. I'm not old enough. I'm not sick enough. Well, great. You can stay in your home. Our commitment to you is for you to remain in your home. However, if you are no longer safe in your home, and we have had that happen to a few of our members, you would transition. You would be a part of that decision. Your physician, our medical director, our care coordination team, your posse, if you will, your family, your healthcare surrogate, all of those people would make that type of a decision. When you transition into a care setting, you just continue to pay your Senior Choice at Home monthly service fee, which is probably about 10% of what an assisted living. Our average assisted living apartment here is about $6,000 a month. Your monthly service fee for Senior Choice at Home is about $600 per month.
Yeah.
So if that were to happen, then you truly can see the benefit of that, insulating yourself against the healthcare costs.
Absolutely. And I know that David, this is where he could definitely come in because these folks are intending on staying in their home. So a reverse mortgage is a great opportunity to put that initial down payment down. David, as far as the reverse mortgages go, I know we're at an all-time low for interest rates. Tell me some of the interest rates that are happening right now and key eligibility requirements that someone would need if they were looking to do that reverse mortgage.
A reverse mortgage, the primary borrower needs to be 62 years old, and it needs to be the primary residence. And there are also some credit and income requirements. And once that happens, not only, like you said, to pay for like the initial down payment, for example, for the senior care at home, but the monthly. We did one together a year or two ago where one of the options with the reverse mortgage is that you get a monthly payment that lasts for the rest of your life. It's called a 10-year payment. So this gentleman got a lump sum to pay for the initial down payment, and then his monthly payment covered his expense for Senior Choice at Home. So it was perfect for him. He had no money out of pocket, and so it's the opportunities are really quite good.
And interest rates all-time low. What are we sitting at today?
I closed a reverse mortgage purchase last week, and it was 2.7.
Wow.
So it's in the high twos, low threes, as close, 2.5, 2.6 a couple times. So we're in, and the lower the interest rate, the higher percentage of the appraised value is allowed to the homeowner, according to the FHA software. So it's an ideal time to look to look into it.
Well, that's wonderful. We just have a few minutes left, so I'm going to go with closing remarks. Reina, I know that you have so much that we've covered on our individual SBB live talks, and we'll be bringing those to you. I know, Reina, we've got another one scheduled. Andrea, we do. Joanne, we need to get yours on the books. And I think, David, we just had you go live last week or so. So, Reina, any closing remarks that you have for us for today's panel?
Well, one of the things I would say is if you are planning to go into a CCRC, even the month you choose to go in could be critical for tax planning. Imagine if you had 12 whole months of the rental portion and the entrance fee all in 1 year. That is a lot of tax deduction. And we have people who usually take some very taxable IRA money and convert to a Roth because they're going to net the tax deductions against that income. And it's a win-win for everybody. And I would just say, you know, if you think you don't have enough money for a financial planner, but you still need the advice that the planner has to give. So give a planner a try. And there are many of us who do not charge a fee. So give them a try and lose that fear so that you have a financial partner in your life.
Joanne?
I would just reiterate again about early planning, getting advice, getting your ducks in a row, your powers of attorney, your advance directive for healthcare, a will or a living trust in order. And then it's so important. And then again, while you're well, while you're not in crisis, and that elder law or estate planning attorney can be the hub to put you in touch with the other people. And, you know, you, like Reina mentioned too, your professionals work as a team. No one's working in unison to help you or help your spouse. I have a lot of, you know, husbands and wives come in, and the husband may want to make sure that if they predecease, that the wife has a good team. And I think that's so important for people because we see that, and that person is then not alone. And has people they can rely on. So
especially the older generation where the wife maybe didn't really play an active role, or even in my grandparents' case where my grandfather really didn't play a role in doing XYZ. I think the codependency of couples, we're becoming more and more independent. At least I know I am.
Right. So you want to have people there for your loved ones who can help, or even in Florida here, we see a lot of children are out of state. So if they know their parents have a good financial planner, good resources, it's helpful to them to help manage from a distance.
Couldn't agree.
So I think that's important as well. So
couldn't agree more. And we're such a tight-knit community for sure. All right, Andrea, closing remarks.
Yeah, so to echo pretty much what everyone else has said, proactive planning is absolutely key. Today is the youngest you will ever be, possibly the healthiest. So why not start right now? I think that knowing what your options are out there, creating that plan, making knowledge is power, making some idea to share not only with your spouse, but with your family, so they do know exactly what it is that you want. And when you're researching your options, do ask questions regarding who owns the community, how long have they been around, what types of options are there, and certainly we, at Volunteers of America, myself, love to be a resource to people. Not every option is viable for everyone, but we certainly encourage you to get all the information, get your facts, and then look at what may work the best for you. And for us, thankfully, we have the in-home program, so you can do the in-home program, and then you can go to a community. You don't have to make that decision right away.
And Andrea, you just made me think of something that's very important, and we just have to drill it into people's heads. You may be the best pre-planner, and you've talked to Reina and got your long-term care insurance. You've talked to Joanne. You have all your documents in order, and then you stick them in a binder and you don't tell anybody about it. Well, that doesn't do your family any good at all. So you absolutely need to make sure you're communicating with your family who each of these folks are, so they can be that army of people that have your back if something happens, for sure. All right.
Exactly.
Because you mentioned that before that, passwords.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times something has happened, someone's incapacitated or suddenly dies, and the surviving spouse doesn't know the passwords and IDs or even the websites to get into bank accounts.
Right. They don't even know where to start.
Share them, document them, keep them secure, but make sure each other knows about it.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. David, closing remarks?
Well, I think it's been a very productive discussion. I've learned some things, and the importance of pre-planning once again, obviously for everybody, and knowing that as far as reverse mortgage, that accessing equity without a mortgage payment can really be an ideal solution for many different people.
You're absolutely right, and it can help pay for a lot. You can downsize your home, you can buy another home with a reverse mortgage. There's so much more that we could go into. Today was just about touching on the surface. So we encourage all of you watching today to please reach out with your questions. The individual information for each panelist will be uploaded. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you so much for spending your morning with me for SBB University.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
For having us.
And